YanahaKai. Welcome. My name is YanahaKai, and I am your host today for this reading, which is about the warrior code. So we just went from the warrior matrix to now the warrior code, because we need to figure out, I guess, or at least some affirmations on what kind of code it is that we are using, that we are navigating, the code, the numbers, the programming. What programming are we working with? So this is very similar. It's going to be very similar to the Matrix reading in terms of like concept, because you can look at the Matrix itself, the womb itself, as carrying all the code that one really needs to get a head start in life. However, this is going to be more about the fluctuating energies that go into making the Matrix, that go into making you as a human being. So this is less so about this sort of programming paradigm in that regard of the personal, and this is more of an interpersonal perspective on the programming, rather. That's where we're going here. So we're going to start off with the collective reading, and then this time I have the images ready. I pulled them up like a smart person. I decided to use my brain before we did this reading, okay? So we're going to do a collective reading first, and then we're going to move on to the options. So let's write down for a timestamp. We'll write down about 2 minutes is where the collective starts. Alright. So let's see what the collective is dealing with when it comes to the warrior code, the numbers, the programming, the illusion, the truth illusion. Disillusion? Maybe that's the word. Alright, so we're gonna just use cards today. I'm just gonna use the Japanese tarot. We're not gonna make it too complex. Alright, first card we get is the moon. I just said something about illusion, disillusionment. Now, in this regard, I would say when we get the moon as the first thing in the upright, that's talking about our consciousness coming to light. That's talking about the illumination that comes from the full moon. The fact that we've put in so much energy from the new moon until now. So that's where we're at. We're at a culmination energy when it comes to the code here. So it's almost like we're benefiting right now as a collective from what it is that we've put in the past, and we are reaping the rewards in our consciousness of how we have come to say this is right and that's wrong. And we at least have a good baseline for this conceptualization of what needs to be and what needs to go. And that is paired with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So yeah, this is definitely saying that we got the right start going. We already invested in the right start, and that is right now affecting the choices that we're making right now with the new programming that we're coming to. So the truths that we've realized about how we've invested our energy in the past, in our psyche, in our consciousness, in our intuition, it's coming to the forefront now. We're getting ready to make another decision, to invest that Ace of Pentacles that we started to invest before. Now we're going to take that coin and take it out of the piggy bank, or out of the wooden bank, because I have a wooden bank. We're going to take it out of the bank, and then we're going to get ready, and we're going to use that coin. So let's get a little more info here. We got the Lovers in reverse on the right-hand side here. That's the masculine, the action-oriented sphere here. So it's almost like saying that we're almost at a point where we can come to peace, come into harmony with what it is that we've learned and that we're learning right now, what kind of program it is that we're dealing with. So for example, let's take 1111, okay? It's the most common number that everybody talks about, who's anybody that knows about the numbers. And 1111 is seen as the gateway. And sometimes I've looked it up just to give myself a refresher after all these years. What really is 1111 about? And simply put, 1111 is about the gateway opening up in the consciousness, and we have the responsibility to take what it is that we've learned and to share that with the world. That's what 1111 ultimately is much about. So, this Lover's card in the reverse on the action-oriented side is saying that that hasn't really been fulfilled just yet. So whatever 1111 coded sort of thing that comes to mind that you're like, I need to share this with the world, but I don't know how to do it, I don't know when to do it, this is your affirmation, your confirmation for that specific thing that you're getting close to being able to share whatever it is. Now let's look at the feminine side. We got defensiveness through the Seven of Wands. Okay, interesting. But this card in the upright can also, in my view, symbolize trauma. Because if this is after the battle is over and we're still fighting, that can also be interpreted as trauma, as PTSD. Like, the fight is over, but I still feel like, because I've been programmed by fear, right? Fear from the fear I had to endure through the battle, even though I won it, I'm programmed by that fear to have to, to feel like I have to defend myself. Even though everybody's laying on me on the ground, and it's like, I won, but I'm still swinging. So, yeah, this is like saying that this defensiveness, this defensive energy that we've been taking in, we're coming to terms with it here, with the full moon. Whatever sort of defensiveness it is we are having around something that does not, like, there are things that we don't need to fight, that we need to start letting go of, that we need to start releasing, so that we can come into harmony here with this Lovers and bring it in the upright. So this is affirming that we're transitioning out of this fear-based, action-oriented coding. So for example, there are certain numbers, when I see them, I'm like, it's a reminder that, like, I am not thinking and perceiving things as I need to be. I need to be more optimistic. I need to have more confidence in myself. I need to look at all of my possibilities, and so on and so forth. So for example, for me, that is this number which I heard a long time ago. Because, now this number specifically, it sticks out to me because it was used in a horror film that, like, a lot of people either have seen or heard of. It's a very iconic horror film, The Exorcist. They had the number 1114 in the film at the point where the exorcism was complete, where the demon, so to speak, left the little girl's body. And I don't remember where exactly, maybe it was like YouTube that I saw people talking about that being like a sort of darker number that comes after 1111. So, I personally, whenever I've seen that number, I definitely have gone through situations where I have people in my life that end up showing how, misaligned they are in terms of their respect for me. I definitely have run into that over and over and over again when that number has shown itself to me. And even recently, I've gone through a few different circumstances where that number really stood out. So, that is an example of how we have 1111 over here on the right, so to speak, when it comes to coding. 1111 is not written down. I'm just, if you've been following, I mentioned that this is what it's making me think of. And then on the other side, on the left-hand side, we have, metaphorically, 1114. This sort of darker number. And together, these numbers can actually go well together, because I've had to learn this now, to after my bad experiences with 1114 reappearing, I have had to learn to try to just go with that energy as much as possible, and to try to focus on what needs to be released if I end up seeing that number and focusing on 1114. There are things that whatever it is that I'm feeling nervous about, the moment that number strikes, then those are the things I need to face head on and deal with them and accept them, let them go, whatever. So, yeah, here we go. Let's pull out a few more cards to give this a little more info, and then we're gonna move on to the options. I'm gonna pull 3 cards, because 3 will work with this for me. And now, when it comes to the numerology of 1114, it reduces to 7, which is a highly spiritual number. It's connected to God as well. So even though it's like this anxiety-inducing number for me, because it has, for almost a decade now, every time I've seen that number, it just it has been appearing at negative times in my life. There are other numbers too, like 321. 321 is the opposite of 123, because 123 is progress, whereas 321, it's gotta take steps back. The progress really is a holistic, so need to actually integrate it. That's what 321 is about. It's about allowing the setbacks to occur so that we can actually, integrate the code. So yeah, we got those 2 numbers. One's about release, one is about letting it in so we can be the instructor. Yeah, it's funny, we got the Hangman popping up under the 7 of Wands in the upright. So that is a double confirmation of this blockage coming from this fear that we're dealing with. So there's a high probability that you have a similar thing to me, where you see certain numbers or certain signs and they make you feel a little anxious. Like, oh no, do I really have to go through this? Well, it's showing that some of that is a bit manifested, not completely, but only because I'm going through this. Now, here's how I'm going to relate to this. I'm going through this thing right now where I have to, so to speak, stand my ground in order to not have to endure certain things that I don't want to endure. And it's really minor things in a lot of people's eyes, but in my eyes, in my physical environment, it is better for me to do these small acts of, so to speak, standing my ground, so that I don't have to, in the long term, deal with this sort of defensiveness energy that I often struggle with as a person with chronic PTSD. I'm still working on healing it, but hey, it's not easy, but it can be done. I trust it can be done. So, now what appeared over here under the Lovers in reverse is the Queen of Swords in the upright. So, the Queen, she is talking about, in the upright, that you, the listener, are fully capable of being receptive of whatever it is that you need to know, or that you need to do, or whatever. In this case, since it's coming up in the action-oriented side, the masculine, you are receptive of what it is that you need to do in order to execute this order of validation, of confirmation, of 1111, so to speak, to move forward. And let's look at the bottom card in the center. So this is cool. I like that this is coming up because I'm talking about integration. I'm talking about having setbacks. I'm talking about little baby steps here, so to speak, because at this point, if we're having setbacks, then we got to consider baby steps instead, because at the very least, we can make progress that way. So what we got here at the center is the Page of Swords. We got 2 of those things. So definitely the collective, when it comes to the codes that we're dealing with facing these fears, facing these traumas, facing these blockages, dealing with the fact that we've had setback after setback after setback with whatever it is that we're trying to have a breakthrough with. And because of us being set back so much, we're at this point now, we're nothing can prevent us now. Like we've been set back so much to the point where nothing can prevent us from being like, okay, finally, I will I'm getting some notifications right now from my #1 favorite journalist from Gaza. I check on her every single day, and it gives me at least a minute amount of peace to see her updates, because I at least know she's alive at the point that she's posting. Her name is Bisan Oda. OWDA. Her username on Instagram is wizard_Bisan1. I highly recommend you follow her for the inside perspective of what is going on in Gaza from somebody that has survived as far as she's gotten with as few physical damages as possible, because right now it's a miracle for anybody in Gaza to not have a physical injury. That's only from a personal perspective, because that doesn't even include the miracle of having all of one's family members alive. Like that, those are the 2 big miracles for anybody to have, is every family member alive and they themselves having no injury. So I digress. I digress. And I guess the synchronicity in this is that when I started following Bisan, it was at the very, very start of this. So I was one of the first people actually outside of her usual group of people that look at her posts and repost them. I was one of the first people to do that. And how I know that is because she looked at my story in the very beginning when she had like maybe a few 10,000 followers, like a few tens of thousands or a few 100,000 followers. It wasn't that many followers, and now she is one of the biggest, she has so many people following her, and I love that, the fact that so many people actually have gravitated her into such in this short period of time, and they're looking for the truth, and they're looking for it from just a regular person. Now, anyway, so yeah, I guess the synchronicity in that is that I was just talking about the Page of Swords here and then the Queen of Swords. So that's the sort of progress that we can make as long as we, stick to our integrity and all that. Like, she didn't throw in the towel on journalism or anything once the war started. She said, okay, I'm gonna keep doing what I do. Like, and now, she's living a whole new life of just trying to adapt every single moment. So I suppose that's something that we can learn from here right now in this reading, as warriors, as Natsanis, that we ourselves have this opportunity to adapt, to take these baby steps, to have this progression, much like how Bisan was given this opportunity to be able to tell the entire world. Whereas before, at the very beginning, just before that, she was telling the world for sure, but the whole world wasn't really ready to listen yet. So that may be a similar thing right now, where you're working on something and you are telling the whole world, but the whole world isn't really ready to listen yet. And you're gonna get there at that point, too, where everybody will listen to your warrior message. Okay, so let's look at the underlying energy. 2 of Wands in the reverse. So this is about well, in this case, yeah, we're talking about trying to move forward on our journey, trying to move forward on our path. So this is like saying that we will be able to get to that point when we can actually start to plan things and start to move along with our journey. And this is just an affirmation here that there is a slight blockage that we're dealing with. And we're using the coding that we are given here right now in the matrix to deal with that. To navigate. So yes, also a reminder that if there are any numbers that are standing out to you, to look into their interpretations, of course, but also to learn the basics of numerology. That way you yourself can just come to your own interpretation for a lot of these and build your own personal relationship with the code. Alright, so let's move on to the options. We got two options here. And me and my smart brain are going to be able to, because I pulled up the images, I'm going to be able to break down what the images look like this time. Alright, so for number one, we have this turquoise. These are both from a Mandelbrot design, so if you know what that is, it's like an infinite sort of abstract looking design that you can go to one part of the design and it'll infinitely repeat over and over and over again. So these are both from that. Number one is a turquoise and black Mandelbrot, and it is from the side of it, so you see like a tail almost of a Mandelbrot. Like a fish tail, it almost looks like, yeah, it looks like a mermaid tail, fish tail. That's number one, turquoise and black. Number two is black and rainbow Mandelbrot, and it is focusing, instead of on the side of it, it's focusing on the very center of the Mandelbrot. So you see a sort of spiral with colors emanating from the design in black. And there's big black empty spaces. Alright, so when you're ready, make your choice, and we'll move on to option one. Ya'at-e, to those who have chosen. Option one. We're gonna take a look at your warrior code, your Natane code. And what can you learn? What can I learn? What can we learn? What can we affirm? What do we need to know? We'll keep it simple here, and we'll just pull a couple cards to start. Literally, two. Oh, did I even shuffle? I thought I shuffled. Here, let me reshuffle. I pulled some of the cards from the collective reading, so I'll give it a better shuffle. I'll even give the little knock on it. Who's there? Me. Being a goofball. 2222 just passed on the recording. Man. Oh boy. This Palestinian genocide has really brought all the racists out of the woodworks. My God. They've been waiting for their moment to strike. And I do consider ignorance racism, for people to actually be choosing ignorance when it comes to this, you know, assuming that the Palestinian people deserve it. That is definitely a racist move, in my eyes. Before this genocide started, on the 7th, that is, specifically, I didn't really relate to calling people racist, thinking of people as racist in the most critical way that I am now. Like, I did before, for sure, but now that so many racists are coming out of the woodwork, I do not hesitate to consider people racist at all. I do not hesitate. I don't. I also don't hesitate to call people Nazis now. And before, I did hesitate. I did hesitate a lot. Because I have ancestors that survived as Germans, the bombing from the US in World War II that survived the Nazi regime. So I could never relate to people calling women feminazis or whatever sort of ways that people were using Nazi. Never could, not even neo-Nazi. And now, boy oh boy, Nazi just, it rolls off of my tongue like no other, because what word do I use to describe the way that the Zionist regime acts? My God. The best word to describe it is Nazi. So, anyway, I digress. I know, you got that little intro for your reading. So, okay. Let's get started. I don't know why you jumped up here. There's nothing up here for you. Okay, anyway, so you got 2 cards. You got the Queen of Wands in their reverse, and then you got the 8 of Cups. And then the Hermit in reverse. Okay, so on your masculine side, you got this sort of feminine energy coming up, but in the reverse. So, interesting. And the way that I would interpret this card, it's this card to me, the Queen of Wands, lately has been about confidence. And I guess that comes from her receptivity in terms of her flame, in terms of her presence in this world, spiritually. And so I'm gonna go with that interpretation. So here, in the reverse here, when it comes to the action-oriented side, it's showing that you need to be more confident when you see these codes, that these codes are actually trying to tell you something, that your higher self, that God, is actually trying to communicate. That you, yourself, at this point in time, may be feeling a little unsure about the fact that these codes are actually trying to guide you to where you need to be, to where you belong. And they are. They are. I mean, I've been there personally, you know, I've seen a lot of these numbers, I've been like, you know, what's the deal here? But lately, because I've been having problems with the internet, the codes that I get to see when I'm on the internet, when the internet is working just fine for me, I am taking those more into consideration than I was before, because my perspective on these codes is kind of limited to the parameter that I'm using. And so when I see 777, 666, all them numbers, to me, lately, I'm using it as like a stopper. So lately, I'm going about my business, but once I see a certain number, I take it in, I'm like, okay, there's the synchronicity. That means that whatever it is that I was, like, thinking about, whatever it is I was, you know, wanting to have some sort of an affirmation about, it's like, there it is, and I can let it go, and sit back a little bit when it comes to whatever it is I was thinking about. And then move forward from there. So I'm using it as like a checkpoint indicator that I can just relax a little bit about whatever it is. So, with that in mind, it's like saying that you yourself, those who have chosen number 1, you are coming to this point where you are becoming more confident in yourself. Now, you didn't get a major arcana card on the table, you got one on the underlying energy, so there's not as big of a pressure for you to come to terms with your confidence with these numbers. It's more of a surface level relationship that you are coming to terms with it. And then on your feminine side, you got the 8 of Cups in the upright. And the 8 of Cups is about learning the lesson, is about progression when it comes to past situations. It's about, it's also about you yourself or other people returning to a cycle when it is in the upright. So it's like saying on your feminine side, on your introspective side, what you're receiving is the wisdom from all these experiences you've had, but also whatever sort of codes it is that you had set aside for however long, they're now coming back up to the forefront and you're becoming aware of that. And through that awareness, you are having to face this difficulty of building one's confidence with certain numbers or certain affirmations. The underlying energy is the Hermit in reverse. And so that's where your big energy comes from there. That's your big energy showing up. And the Hermit in the reverse is definitely... Gosh, I hope I don't have to redo this reading, because I had rocks right in front of the iPad, so if those aren't too loud, then I won't have to redo this. Anyway, if I do, then it would be synchronistic, huh? And then you'll never hear this. Otherwise, if you do hear it, then it worked. So, I digress. The Hermit in reverse is about, basically, it's about mastering the wisdom that you have had to deal with for this cycle, for however long, and now you're getting to a point where you can come out of this hermit mode and you can actually share this wisdom regarding these things. So I see this more so as an individual thing, though, more so about you coming to terms with these things popping back up, with the need to align oneself with these signs and synchronicities. And then, when that is accomplished a little bit more, then you'll be able to share this wisdom. Once once you're a little more certain, then you do. I mean, I guess you could just fly off the handlebar and pretend that you know things. Don't listen to my advice on that one. Unless it works. I don't know if it works, you're welcome. If it doesn't, then you didn't hear it from me, alright? Anyway, so this concludes your tiny little pathway reading for number 1, those who have chosen number 1. And we will move on to number 2 in a moment here. Ahehe, kigwaba mininoa. That you, yourself, at this point in time, may be feeling a little unsure about the fact that these codes are actually trying to guide you to where you need to be, to where you belong. And they are. They are. I mean, I've been there personally, I've seen a lot of these numbers, I've been like, what's the deal here? Ya'ate! Those who have chosen option 2, the Rainbow Mandelbrot, starting from the spirally center with the black spaces in between. We're gonna look at your warrior code. Don't worry, if you were sitting through option 1, you're not gonna get a long intro like number 1 did, okay? I will be generous of your time this time. I don't know why I was going off. Alright, so, there we go, boom. Let's see what these are. Okay, let's take it. Some new energy. So, for you, your matrix code, what we got here is very simple. Now, you do have a major arcana card that has come out on the table. Yes, yes. So, on the right-hand side, you got the 6 of Pentacles in the upright. And on the left-hand side, you got the Fool in the reverse. So, your masculine energy that's coming through here, what is that saying? 6 of Pentacles. That is saying here, right now, that the code that you are working with, that you are maneuvering, has a lot to do with community-based support, with the tribe, with working together, not with just one individual person, but many. Many that share the same vision, many that are on the same path. Now, when it's in the upright as it is here, that is an affirmation that wherever it is right now that you are on your journey, when it comes to being a Natani and reflecting on your codes, the codes that you are given and that you are programming into the matrix are that of support, are that of community, are that of unity. And you are building a place and a space for harmony with the numbers that are popping out to you. Yes. Now, with getting the Fool in the reverse, however, on the feminine side, paired with the underlying energy on the bottom, you have the Four of Swords in reverse. I would say that this Fool card is more about not so much hesitancy, but caution. Usually, I see that as about hesitancy, about taking action, about trusting oneself that you can even start the journey. I would say more so for you, this is about being cautious because you have been in a state where you've been needing to rest when it comes to the underlying energy. I just want to say, by the way, I'm uploading these videos, I upload these both to Rumble and YouTube. And because of these wild internet problems I have to deal with, basically slow internet connecting to hotspots and all that, takes forever to upload. So I just want to say, we went up 1%. Once I started these readings, we went up 1% when it comes to this upload. Because I'm trying to upload the most recent video, which was the Warrior Matrix. We're at 18%, okay? 18%. I'm gonna be patient, okay? I'm going to be patient. So whenever you get this reading on YouTube, y'all better be grateful, because I am, that's for sure, okay? Unless, you have good reason not to be. But rather, so I guess we can take that as a synchronicity right here, right now. That you have been cautious for good reason, but you are still making progress. You still are taking the time to be patient, to do your due diligence, to build a sort of mental stability for you when it comes to the underlying energy. And you're coming to a point where you are making that little bit of progress like I am. I have tried to upload this video so many times with this wonky internet. And this is like the third or the fourth upload. So much like you having the Fool in reverse, you've had to be cautious. I've had to be very cautious to ensure I'm not messing up the upload. And as a result, I have to, like you have the Four of Swords here, I've had to rest and just relax and just be like, okay, as long as I have my iPad on one side of the house that's closer to the signal like it is now, then I can, relax and know that at the very least it's gonna make a fair bit of progress compared to when I'm on the other side of the room and the signal's weaker. That is relevant to your reading. Why not? So yeah, basically, this is affirming that you have been cautious for good reason, and that is going to pay off for you. You are going to be able to, with that caution, you're going to be able to reach a lot of people with the code that you are working on, the code that you are putting into the matrix. And that your cautiousness is going to be contagious. You are going to be able to take this lesson that you've learned here, right here, about getting set back and then having to step forward very graciously. You are taking that and you're going to be able to share that with others. Other Natanis. I know this is all a bit of a reiteration of what I've been saying before, but hey, what do you expect? This is me starting out with readings. Haven't done them in a while. I did them on my old channel, but now I'm doing them here on this specifically Native Veganarchy Oracle channel. I guess this reading for me is resonating on a holographic level. Yeah. So I relate. I relate. Alright, so we're just gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna call it good. And, yeah. And if you want to see these videos sooner, go to my Rumble. I will put it in the description of the YouTube bio. So if you want to see these uploads, like, way, way, way sooner than then you get them on YouTube, because I am uploading them. Let me just conclude the reading here. Let me just conclude it, that way I can edit it, and then you can get this little PSA at the end, if you really want to watch my readings. Okay, hey, thank you for those who have chosen option number 2, and those who have chosen option number 1, if you've gone through this, and then a collected reading. Okay. Little PSA. Yeah, so if you want my readings, go to the description of my channel here on YouTube, and go to the Rumble link, go to Rumble, follow me on Rumble, hit the bell, whatever you gotta do. And check in. I will be uploading them. The way I upload them now is I upload them both simultaneously if I can. I have been successful at that once. Once so far, due to the internet, wonky internet. I upload them at the same time, so I will not go ahead of schedule and upload a whole bunch on Rumble. That will not happen. They will be uploaded simultaneously. I will wait for whatever the slowest is, whether that be Rumble, for now it's YouTube. I will wait for the slower one to upload, and then once they're uploaded on both YouTube and Rumble, then I will put the new video up. Okay? So I'm just saying, I'm not getting ahead of myself. We're up to 19% now, dude! We have made progress of 2%. 2% progress since I started recording this reading. My mind is blown. It will be uploaded by midnight at this rate. Hopefully. So yeah, that's my little PSA on if you're like a die-hard, let's say a live-hard fan instead of dying. How about that? If you are a hardcore fan, then you are definitely going to want to go to Rumble. I don't have hardcore fans. Hopefully. Please. I'd rather just have people here. Yeah. Okay, anyway, that concludes the PSA. Ahehe, gigwaba minua.